Have you ever wondered why some geniuses seem to have access to knowledge that the rest of humanity doesn't even know exists? While you struggle to find solutions to everyday problems, there are hidden secrets capable of turning any ordinary mind into an endless source of revolutionary insights. Nikola Tesla, the man who quite literally illuminated the modern world, had a secret ritual he performed religiously every night, exactly at midnight. It wasn't coincidence, and it wasn't obsession. It was a consciousness technology he developed to access dimensions of knowledge that conventional science still struggles to understand. While the world slept, Tesla connected with a hidden energy that permeates all of existence, using techniques that blended cutting-edge science with ancient wisdom. His nightly habits weren't just the quirks of an eccentric inventor, they were systematic methods to hack reality itself and extract information from fields of consciousness most people don't even know exist. He discovered that there is a specific time, an exact vibrational frequency, at which the human mind can receive transmissions of knowledge from dimensions beyond our ordinary perception. What's most astonishing is that Tesla left clues showing how anyone can apply these same principles to awaken extraordinary abilities that lie dormant within us all. It doesn't matter if you're an executive seeking innovative solutions for your business, a student struggling to grasp complex subjects, or simply someone who feels they have far greater potential than they've ever been able to express. Tesla's secrets could completely revolutionize how you think and create. Get ready to discover why midnight was sacred to Tesla, how he transformed mystical rituals into applied science, and most importantly, how you can adapt these techniques to your own life. What you're about to learn will challenge everything you thought you knew about the limits of the human mind. Have you ever stopped to think about what really happens when the clock strikes exactly midnight? While most people are sound asleep, something mysterious unfolds at that precise hour, something few are aware of, yet it has the power to completely shift your perception of the mind's hidden secrets. Nikola Tesla, the brilliant mind who revolutionized our understanding of energy and electricity, had a secret ritual that he performed every single night at the same time. It wasn't coincidence. It wasn't random. It was something far deeper and more intentional. The patterns he followed religiously were like a hidden code revealing mysteries about how reality truly operates. Just imagine, while you think midnight is just another passing moment, Tesla knew it was the perfect window to access something that conventional science still struggles to explain. The repetition of his nightly habits wasn't an obsession, it was quantum technology applied to existence itself. Every night, at the exact same time, Tesla connected with something that transcended the physical world we know. He understood that repetitive patterns are not just behaviors, they're keys that open doors to dimensions of consciousness most people can't even imagine exist. Think about it, how many times have you had brilliant insights in the middle of the night? How often have you woken up with a solution at the tip of your tongue? That's not coincidence, my friend. It's the intersection where science and spirituality meet, when we realize that our minds operate at specific vibrational frequencies depending on the time of day. Tesla discovered that midnight was his moment of greatest connection to that hidden energy that surrounds us all. He knew the universe speaks in symbols and synchronicities, and those who can decode those signals gain access to unimaginable power. What's most fascinating is that Tesla wasn't just a brilliant inventor, he was a true mystic of modern science. His nightly habits were like a mystical ritual, executed with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker. It's no wonder his inventions seemed to come from another world, as if he had access to a cosmic library of knowledge. The repetition of his patterns created a kind of portal between his consciousness and information fields that forbidden science still attempts to decode. Now imagine discovering that there's a specific time when your mind becomes most receptive to solving your deepest problems. It would be like having a master key to unlock any door that appears in your path. Tesla understood this decades before modern neuroscience began talking about circadian rhythms and altered states of consciousness. And here's the part that might make you rethink everything you thought you knew about how reality works. These patterns Tesla followed weren't just personal habits, they were a way to tune his vibrational frequency to something much greater. It's as if he discovered that midnight was a moment of lower noise in the Earth's electromagnetic field, allowing his mind to pick up on information normally hidden. Think of it like this: ever tried tuning into a radio station in a place full of interference? Late at night, radio waves travel farther because there's less noise. Tesla applied this same principle to his own consciousness. He knew that at that precise hour, his mind could receive transmissions of knowledge coming from dimensions that conventional science doesn't even recognize as real. What's most impressive is how Tesla was able to transform these midnight insights into inventions that changed the world. It wasn't just inspiration, it was a systematic method of accessing information. His mind's secrets were like an instruction manual for hacking reality itself. He discovered that awakening consciousness doesn't happen only during daylight hours. There's a special kind of awakening that occurs when we tune our mental frequency to cosmic rhythms. Midnight was his sacred time, his ritual of connection to the hidden energy that permeates all things. Imagine being able to apply this same technique in your own life, having a specific hour to access creative solutions, receive insights on your projects, or find answers that seem impossible during the day. Tesla proved it's possible, and the secrets he left behind can be used by anyone willing to explore the mysteries of their own mind. But here's where the real mystery begins, one that few dare to explore. Why did Tesla choose midnight specifically? Why not any other hour? There's something about this moment that transcends our common understanding of time and space. The ancient mystics already knew this. They called midnight the hour of spirits, the moment when the veil between worlds grows thin. Tesla, with his scientific mind, discovered that this esoteric knowledge had a very real, applicable foundation. He turned occultism into practical science, building a bridge between the material world and the subtle dimensions of existence. Once you begin to understand the patterns Tesla followed, you'll realize there's a consciousness technology available to all of us. You just need to know how to access it. And this is only the beginning of the journey we're about to explore together. Let's now dive into the fascinating life of Nikola Tesla and uncover how his unique personality shaped not only his inventions but an entirely new way of understanding reality itself. Tesla wasn't an ordinary inventor. He was a genius mind operating at vibrational frequencies completely different from the rest of humanity. Born in 1856 during a lightning storm in Croatia, it seems the universe was already signaling that this child would be anything but ordinary. From an early age, he demonstrated an inexplicable connection to the hidden energy that surrounds everything. His visions were so vivid that he could build entire machines in his mind, test them, perfect them, and only then bring them into the physical world. Just imagine having that ability, to create and refine any invention mentally before ever touching a single screw. That's not just talent, it's a way of accessing information that goes far beyond the 5 conventional senses. Tesla's obsessive routines were, in truth, secret rituals disguised as eccentricity. He would walk exactly 10 times around the block before entering any building, clean his dining utensils with 18 napkins, and always requested hotel rooms with numbers divisible by 3. To the outside world, these behaviors seemed bizarre, but Tesla knew he was establishing precise patterns to tune his consciousness to more subtle dimensions of reality. These day and night habits functioned like a form of primitive quantum technology, a way of programming his mind to receive insights that most scientists couldn't even dream of. He understood that the repetition of certain actions created resonance waves that opened channels of communication with cosmic fields of information. It was as if he were constantly fine-tuning his mental antenna to catch transmissions from the universe. What few people know is that Tesla came from a very special lineage. His family carried traditions that traced back to ancient spiritual practices of the Balkans. His mother, Juka Mandik, was known for her extraordinary intuitive abilities and for memorizing entire epic poems, demonstrating a mental capacity far beyond the ordinary. Tesla inherited not only her intelligence, but also a unique sensitivity for perceiving hidden patterns in nature. Some researchers suggest that his lineage was connected to esoteric traditions that preserved ancient knowledge about the nature of consciousness and reality. It's no coincidence that Tesla became fascinated by symbols, numbers, and frequencies. He was carrying a genetic code that predisposed him to understand mysteries that conventional science still struggles to explain. He was like a guardian of ancestral secrets, translating ancient wisdom into the language of modern science. Tesla's mind functioned as an interdimensional laboratory where science and spirituality met in perfect harmony. He saw no contradiction between investigating electrical phenomena and exploring the mysteries of consciousness. For him, it was all part of one unified reality. His experiments with alternating current were merely the tip of the iceberg of a much broader understanding of energy and vibration. Tesla discovered that everything in the universe vibrates at specific frequencies, from atoms to galaxies, and that the human mind also operates through vibrational patterns. He applied this understanding to his daily life, creating rituals that aligned his mind with the highest frequencies of knowledge. Imagine applying this to your own life, discovering which activities, times of day, and environments put you in tune with your peak creative and intuitive potential. During his years in New York, Tesla developed what he called the dynamic visualization method, a technique that combined elements of forbidden science with ancient mystical practices. He would spend hours visualizing his inventions working perfectly, feeling each vibration, hearing each sound, perceiving every detail with a precision that defied known physical laws. It wasn't just imagination, it was a way of accessing planes of existence where ideas already exist in perfect form, waiting to be manifested in the physical world. Tesla understood that physical reality is just one layer among many, and that a trained mind can navigate between these layers as easily as we browse the internet today. His mental secrets included techniques of consciousness projection that allowed him to explore future possibilities and choose the most efficient timeline for his inventions. Tesla's laboratory in Colorado Springs was the stage for experiments that defied everything official science considered possible. There, he wasn't just investigating electricity, he was exploring the connections between consciousness, energy, and matter in ways that anticipated quantum physics by decades. His wireless energy transmission experiments were, in reality, explorations of the interconnected nature of all existence. Tesla knew he was touching something that could revolutionize not only technology, but our entire understanding of what it means to be human. He saw that his discoveries had implications far beyond science. They revealed aspects of reality that certain powers preferred to keep hidden. And that's exactly what leads us into the next mysteries we must uncover, about the true nature of the forces that have shaped, and continue to shape, our world from behind the curtain of history. We now enter a territory few have the courage to explore, the hidden connections between Tesla and the forces operating in the shadows of human history. Once you begin connecting the dots, you realize that Tesla was not merely an isolated inventor working in his lab, he was part of a far more complex network of knowledge and power. Certain secret societies had a special interest in his discoveries, not just because of the technology itself, but because of what it revealed about the true mechanisms behind the control of reality. Tesla discovered that the hidden energy permeating everything could be manipulated in ways that go far beyond simply generating electricity. He understood that whoever controls this energy controls the very structure of human consciousness. His nightly rituals were not just for receiving insights, they were also a form of protection against external influences that sought to interfere with his work. Midnight was his hour of greatest mental freedom, when the controlling frequencies were at their weakest. The documents Tesla left behind reveal a profound understanding of how technology could be used to influence the human mind on a global scale. He knew that his inventions could either liberate or enslave humanity, depending on who had access to them. There is a very real conspiracy surrounding the suppression of certain Tesla discoveries, technologies that could have solved the world's energy problems, but which also threatened to dismantle the very system of control that upholds current power structures. Tesla knew he lived in a world where true knowledge is carefully filtered and distributed only to those who pledge to use it in alignment with specific agendas. His nocturnal habits were a way of accessing information that was being deliberately hidden from the masses. He understood that forbidden science is not forbidden by accident, it is forbidden because it reveals truths certain elites would rather keep secret. Tesla's brilliant mind picked up on something that few scientists ever realize: there is a hidden hierarchy of knowledge that decides which discoveries reach the public, and which ones remain buried. He discovered that some of his most revolutionary inventions were being monitored by organizations that operated far beyond visible governments. Tesla realized he was dealing with groups who had access to ancient knowledge about consciousness manipulation and reality control. These groups understood that certain technologies could awaken dormant capacities in humanity, capacities that would make it impossible to maintain traditional systems of control. The repetition of his rituals was a way to protect his mental independence and prevent his mind from being influenced by artificial frequencies designed to limit human potential. Tesla knew he was waging an invisible war for the freedom of human consciousness. What Tesla discovered about vibrational frequency goes far beyond what conventional science is willing to admit. He understood that there are specific frequencies that can induce states of consciousness that make people more susceptible to manipulation, and other frequencies that can awaken extraordinary abilities of perception and creativity. This discovery was immediately deemed dangerous by certain organizations who recognized its potential implications for social control. Tesla knew that whoever controls the technology of frequencies, controls the collective human mind. His secret experiments included investigations into how different frequencies affect behavior, emotions, and even the ability to access elevated states of consciousness. He discovered that some frequencies can literally switch off the parts of the brain responsible for critical thinking, while others can switch on areas associated with intuition and creativity. This information was far too explosive to be released publicly. The symbols Tesla used in his laboratories and inventions were not merely decorative, they were codes representing esoteric knowledge about the nature of reality. Tesla understood that certain geometric forms and symbols act as antennas that can receive or transmit information across dimensions that official science doesn't even acknowledge. He knew that ancient civilizations had already mastered these technologies, and that certain modern groups had preserved this knowledge through secret lineages of initiates. Tesla had access to documents and traditions that revealed ancient methods of manipulating the subtle energy that permeates all existence. He discovered that physical reality is far more malleable than it appears, and that trained consciousness can literally rewrite the laws of physics through the correct application of principles that merge science and occultism. This discovery placed him in the crosshairs of organizations determined to keep humanity ignorant of its true potential. The final mystery surrounding Tesla is that he knew exactly what he was doing when he developed his most controversial inventions. He understood that he was giving humanity tools that could be used either for ascension or for destruction, depending on the consciousness of the user. Tesla embedded encoded clues in his work, a kind of treasure map for future generations ready to understand the deeper implications of his discoveries. He knew his inventions were just the beginning of a much larger revolution in human understanding of reality. The precise timing of his nightly rituals, the repetitive patterns in his habits, the symbols in his lab, all of it was part of a larger code he was transmitting to those with eyes to see. Tesla understood that he was living in a pivotal moment in human history, a tipping point where certain discoveries would determine the future of human consciousness for generations to come. And once you understand that, you begin to see how all the pieces fit together into a much greater pattern, one that reveals not only our past, but also the destiny that awaits us. Tesla knew something that few of his time could grasp. He was not merely an inventor working in the present, but a strategic piece positioned at a specific moment in human history to prepare our species for transformations yet to come. When you examine the chronology of the events Tesla experienced and the discoveries he made, an astonishing pattern emerges, one that connects technological advancements to much larger cosmic cycles. Tesla understood that he was living in what ancient texts call the final times, not in the sense of destruction, but the completion of a great evolutionary cycle of human consciousness. His midnight rituals were not just about receiving technical insights, they were ways of synchronizing himself with cosmic frequencies that were preparing the Earth for a dimensional shift. He knew his inventions were tools humanity would need in order to navigate this transition without falling into chaos. The hidden energy he manipulated was, in truth, the same force that drives the great cycles of planetary evolution. The timing of Tesla's discoveries aligns perfectly with ancient prophecies that speak of humanity's awakening in the last days. It is no coincidence that he was born when he was, and that he developed his technologies when he did. Tesla was being guided by a higher intelligence that knew exactly when certain information needed to be seeded into the human collective consciousness. His experiments with quantum technology anticipated discoveries that would not be officially acknowledged for decades, almost as if he were accessing a future timeline and bringing that knowledge into the present. Tesla's brilliant mind functioned as a channel between different epochs, allowing him to receive information about events that had not yet occurred. He understood that time is not linear, as we often believe, but rather a multidimensional field where past, present, and future coexist simultaneously. His visions included not just machines, but also the future scenarios of humanity. The repetitive patterns Tesla followed were aligned with astronomical and energetic cycles that few scientists of his time could comprehend. He knew that certain planetary alignments created windows of opportunity for accessing specific types of cosmic information. Tesla studied ancient texts that described how celestial configurations influence human consciousness and the very structure of physical reality. He discovered that there are moments in history when the veil between dimensions becomes thinner, allowing prepared minds to access knowledge normally beyond human reach. The exact timing of his rituals wasn't determined just by the clock, but by the position of the stars and the energetic fields they generated around Earth. Tesla understood he was living during one of these special periods, a time when humanity was being prepared for a massive evolutionary leap. The mind secrets Tesla developed were, in reality, techniques of preparation for changes he knew were approaching. He understood that humanity would need new mental capacities to navigate realities that would soon become visible to all. His discoveries on vibrational frequencies were preparations for a world in which manipulating subtle energy would become not only possible, but essential for survival. Tesla knew we were approaching a moment in history when the boundary between science and spirituality would completely dissolve, where technologies based on consciousness would become more important than machines based solely on matter. He was building the technological foundation for a civilization that would operate on principles entirely different from those we know today. His nightly habits were a way to stay connected to this future vision, ensuring his inventions would be aligned with the needs of an evolved humanity. Tesla realized that his discoveries were part of a gradual revelation of knowledge that had been preserved for millennia, waiting for the right moment to resurface. He found evidence that ancient civilizations had already mastered technologies similar to his own, but that this knowledge had been deliberately hidden once humanity proved unready to wield it responsibly. Tesla understood that he was living at a time when this ancient wisdom could finally be reintegrated into human awareness. He knew his inventions were like keys meant to unlock doors to rediscover abilities our species naturally possesses, but has long forgotten. The mystery of the symbols he used was connected to this ancient knowledge. They were codes designed to awaken dormant ancestral memories in the collective human consciousness. Tesla functioned as a bridge between the forgotten past and the inevitable future of humanity. What Tesla truly discovered is that we are approaching a culmination point in the evolution of human consciousness, a moment that sacred texts refer to as the Great Awakening. He knew his technologies were necessary tools for humanity to make this transition without losing its collective sanity. Tesla understood that the mystical ritual of planetary evolution requires certain tools to be available at the exact right time, and he was fulfilling his role in that greater cosmic plan. His discoveries about hidden energy were preparations for a reality in which humanity would have direct access to the very force fields that hold the universe together. He knew he was planting seeds that would blossom when collective consciousness was ready to understand and apply that knowledge constructively. And when you realize that we are living in the exact moment of transition that Tesla foresaw, you begin to understand why it's not enough to merely know his secrets, we must apply them in our own awakening journey. The future he envisioned is becoming the present we now live in. After diving so deeply into the mystery surrounding Tesla and his extraordinary discoveries, we arrive at a crucial point. How do we separate fact from fiction without losing the transformative essence of this knowledge? Tesla taught us that the deepest truths are often hidden between the layers of apparent reality, and that a discerning mind must be both skeptical and open to discoveries that challenge our current understanding. When we examine the sources about his nocturnal habits and secret rituals, we find a fascinating mix of historical documentation, eyewitness accounts, and interpretations that at times go beyond verified facts. But here lies the crucial insight: even if not every detail is scientifically proven, The principles behind these practices reveal universal truths about how the human mind can be optimized to access higher states of creativity and perception. Tesla understood that healthy skepticism is essential, but excessive skepticism can blind us to possibilities we don't yet fully comprehend. The key is to investigate for yourself, experiment with discernment, and always keep your mind open to discoveries that expand your understanding of human potential. The true value of Tesla's teachings does not lie only in the historical facts of his life, but in the methodology he developed for accessing extraordinary insights. When you analyze the patterns he followed, the repetition of certain rituals, the exact timing of his meditations, the attention to symbols and frequencies, you realize he was applying universal principles that anyone can adapt to their own reality. Tesla showed us that a brilliant mind is not the privilege of a chosen few, but the result of specific techniques that synchronize our consciousness with broader fields of information. Whether it's through the mystical midnight hour or any other moment that resonates with your personal energy, what matters is developing a consistent practice that allows you to access altered states of consciousness where revolutionary insights become possible. The hidden energy Tesla worked with is available to all of us. The difference lies in the discipline to create the conditions necessary to perceive it. You don't need to be a born genius to apply these principles. You simply need the courage to experiment and the perseverance to sustain practices that expand your perceptual capacity. The credibility of sources about Tesla varies widely, and it's essential to develop your own filter of discernment when studying these materials. Some accounts of his connections to secret societies may be speculative, but that does not invalidate the fact that he had access to knowledge far ahead of his time. Tesla taught us that forbidden science is often forbidden simply because it challenges established paradigms that are not yet ready to be questioned. When you examine his discoveries with an open but critical mind, you realize that even the most controversial theories contain cores of truth that can be applied in practical ways. The important thing is not to blindly believe everything written about Tesla, but to extract the functional principles that can be tested and verified through your own experience. Tesla always emphasized the importance of direct experimentation. He didn't want people to simply believe in his theories, he wanted them to test and discover for themselves. This experimental approach is essential when exploring any esoteric or controversial knowledge. The awakening Tesla experienced through his nightly practices points to a fundamental truth: each of us has potential access to the same fields of consciousness he explored. The difference lies not in innate talent, but in the willingness to create the right conditions for access. Tesla developed a consciousness technology that anyone can adapt to their specific circumstances. You may not have a laboratory in Colorado Springs, but you have your own mind and the capacity to tune it to higher frequencies of knowledge. The mystical ritual doesn't need to be complex or esoteric. It can be as simple as reserving a specific time of day to meditate on your challenges with full focus and intention. Tesla showed us that conscious repetition of certain practices can open portals of perception that normally remain closed. The vibrational frequency he spoke of can be accessed through music, breathwork, guided visualization, or any practice that puts your mind in a state receptive to extraordinary insights. The most interesting conspiracy surrounding Tesla may not be about secret organizations suppressing his inventions, but about our own tendency to suppress our extraordinary potential for fear of appearing different or eccentric. Tesla taught us that true rebellion is the refusal to accept artificial limitations on what the human mind can perceive and create. When you begin experimenting with techniques similar to his, you may encounter resistance, both external and internal. People may question your practices, or your own mind may resist expanding beyond familiar patterns. Tesla faced that resistance throughout his life, but he maintained his practice because he knew the results justified any temporary discomfort. The hidden code he discovered isn't buried in secret texts or mysterious organizations, it's hidden within our own reluctance to explore abilities we intuitively know we possess. Each of us carries mind secrets that could revolutionize our experience of life, but unlocking them requires courage to investigate territories conventional education has never mapped. Tesla left us a legacy that goes far beyond his physical inventions. He showed us that rigorous investigation and direct experience are the only reliable ways to distinguish truth from illusion. When you study his methods with healthy skepticism and an open mind, you discover that many of his most eccentric practices were actually sophisticated techniques of mental optimization. What matters is not copying exactly what he did, but understanding the principles behind his practices and adapting them to your own journey of discovery. Tesla knew that every mind is unique, and what works for one person may need to be modified for another. He encouraged us to become our own laboratories of consciousness, experimenting with different approaches until we find those that produce verifiable results in our personal experience. The true tribute to Tesla is not to idolize him as an unreachable genius, but to apply his courageous methodology of inquiry and disciplined experimentation to unlock our own extraordinary potentials. And when you do that, you realize there are many more mysteries waiting to be unveiled, mysteries that can transform not only your individual life, but also contribute to the collective awakening Tesla foresaw.